recently they put in what look like metal detectors.
Right.
But they're actually like they've got cameras on either side, and when you walk through, it lights up, and it obviously takes a sort of 3D image of your face. Good morning, Sea Milk.
Good morning. Bad morning.
Bad morning.
Bad morning indeed.
We're stuck here, standing around in the sun. We found a bit of shade now. But what happened was, we're in this parking lot that's just behind us here. There's a big pay for parking. But when you exit the parking lot, you actually have to get these tokens, and you go to a machine and you pay.
Right.
But the machine just basically froze and broke. And we're just waiting now for somebody to arrive.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Social credit scores and surveillance. Facial recognition.
It's a big topic right now in China, this whole facial recognition thing. We're going to hit the road and talk about it.
Yes, we are.
So we escaped.
We escaped.
With a minor case of heat stroke.
It's terrible, you know, it's just like Guangdong here, the heat, isn't it?
It's just very, very hot. And the sun's very strong as well.
Well, it's summer.
Anyway, we made it out. That was bullshit. But you know what else is bullshit?
What?
The heavy surveillance in China right now.
Yeah.
Massive, massive issue. So basically what's going on is China's gone full Black Mirror. Have you ever watched Black Mirror?
Well, I've watched Black Mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do disagree on the way you say mirror. I say it like meerkat.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Americans say it like that. But anyway, long story short, it's very much like that in that China is using Big Brother technology, futuristic stuff, to identify potential criminals, future criminals, and also aggregate scores for people based on their kind of political upholdings to make sure they're upholding the party.
Just their behavior.
And their behavior as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me talk about that a little bit because, you know, on the ground in Shenzhen, it's not as dystopian as everyone makes it out to be. But they have installed, for a very long time now, they've had X-ray machines, just like airport scanners, basically, in all of the metro stations.
Right.
So when you go in to take the subway, you will basically have to scan all your bags. But recently they put in what look like metal detectors.
Right.
But they're actually like they've got cameras on either side, and when you walk through, it lights up, and it obviously takes a sort of 3D image of your face.
Right.
That's part of the whole facial recognition thing that they're rolling out. Also, in all of the taxis and buses, there are cameras, you know, and basically just to keep an eye on you in case you do something bad. And of course, you've got cameras everywhere in China, but
it's a mess.
But this is China, and half the time the cameras aren't turned on.
Right.
And for instance, those things in the subway, I know how technology works, and basically they put out an infrared light when they're scanning you. You can tell half the time it's not working, and so it's a trial basis thing.
Also in Huaqiangbei, you can go see all the cameras. They have fake dummy versions of pretty much everything for sale.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it sounds scary, but the actual implementation of it is going to be very difficult, and it's not going to be as you know, people think it's this well-oiled machine that's just working. Turn right.
Yeah, like it's what's it called? It's not like Black Mirror in the aspect of like it doesn't work. Nothing in China works properly. So,
well, it's just difficult to implement there because, you know, it's such a big country and such a big population.
Right.
What you'll find is you'll probably find that certain parts of certain cities it works well, but everywhere else it doesn't work at all.
I think it's just one of those things, like the scary thing is that they're allowed or able to do this. Like you can't, you know, that's the scary part. The government has that much power. The problem is, just like anything else in China, it gets implemented quickly and then it also stops working quickly, just like the building quality, and you have no smoking laws and things like that. They put it out in great measure, you know, all the government people get kickbacks to like get all these measures implemented, and then at the end of the day maybe it just stops working. We need to turn right, dude. We can't turn right here. It's a no entry, so the next one we should have gone right back there. Okay.
Anyway, I know what you mean. What's shocking is the fact that as a Westerner you would be so worried about your privacy and your rights and all of that.
Right.
And as a bit of an offshoot, almost a little digression on this topic, I want to talk about that attitude because let's turn right.
Okay.
It extends to pretty much everything. When it comes to like Western journalism, for instance.
Right.
You know, Western journalists, when they come interview people in China. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not going to ride you over, don't worry. Let's go. when it comes to interviewing people in China, they don't realize that the people they're interviewing can get into a lot of trouble because in China you just don't have the same rights as you do in a place like America. You know, all the civil liberties and all that nonsense.
But it's getting worse, like in that respect, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that to kind of put a little bit of perspective on this whole thing.
Right.
Because in China, people are used to it. People don't complain because there's no point. Like you can be upset about the whole idea of being monitored everywhere you go, but it's not going to change the fact that you're going to be monitored wherever you go.
It also doesn't make it right, though, that people are used to it. Like people aren't used to it here.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not like a racial thing that they're just okay with it.
Sure, I'm not at all trying to defend it, by the way.
Right.
Don't misunderstand. I do think it's
I understand
it's a
your
terrible
perspective.
thing.
I get it. It's just like when you use a Western lens to report on everything.
Yeah.
But really, I think it's very concerning in the respect that not people are monitored. Like, oh, their privacy, they can see me. In that, they're using this monitoring software and all this other kind of stuff to dictate someone's actions and monitor their behavior and limit what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, like, for instance, the whole idea is that behind the social credit is that if somebody behaves badly, then they will have penalties. Like, for instance, they won't be able to get bank loans, or they won't be able to travel, or you know, there'll be some penalty if you like drive badly a lot or something. Then you know, you get a minus on your score, and when you drop below a certain level, you have to work hard to like improve it. So they're gamifying, I guess, like culture in a way, like social culture. They're trying to make people, you know, improve or whatever.
They're also trying to make examples out of some big people so that people down below will be scared. That's how things work in China. It's very top heavy.
Yeah.
So Feng being one of the most famous actresses, who's been missing for a while now, by the way, but before that she was banned from travel. Because she had been dodging taxes. And her social credit basically prevented her from being able to leave the country, right?
Well, I think they just don't want her to leave the country so she doesn't flee with all the ill-gotten gains.
That as well, but I mean, it is being marketed as the social credit score system, so people are, you know, getting scared about that. But anyway, there's some more implementation, like the facial scanning in places like Xinjiang, where they're very worried about religious uprisings. So it's mostly being implemented there, but it is now kind of moving over to Beijing and those areas because, you know, that's the capital and things like that. But it's not facial recognition and stuff. There's more to it. They're actually going through, and this just happened, they're going through and checking people's, when you go into the subway, remember you have to go through security like you just mentioned, right? They're going through people's chat histories, like on WeChat and stuff, to look for potential messages and stuff. Like potential messages like against the government, or like, you know, I have a bomb I'm going to put on the subway, things like that. Sure. And that to me is like, not just like, you know, like completely blatantly destroying any semblance of privacy, but also like terrifyingly paranoid. Remember what happened to you on the MTR? Oh yeah,
the big guy like came up to me and took photos of me and was very aggressive.
Like with no explanation. That's the thing in China. You can't be like, what are you doing with these photos? Why are you checking my messages? You have no right to say anything. They have 100% legal right to detain you, hold you, and you don't have to know why.
Absolutely, and that's something I try to tell a lot of the foreigners that I know, is that at the end of the day, you can't apply the Western logic, because if they want, they can freeze your assets in your bank account, they can cancel your visa, they can kick you out. Here's the petrol station.
It doesn't matter what lawyer you have.
I don't think a lawyer can help you in this kind of regard.
Not especially in a political circumstance. Like in China. Let's get some gas, eh?
Yeah, oh man.
Let's see how much
one of
gas
those,
is.
you can't go in this way.
Really?
You know, we have to remember that this isn't China, right?
Right.
Let's just go around the block.
It's a different China.
Yeah, mainland China, you can just kind of drive in any which way, but here they've got like, you can go in this way or you can't, and it's
interesting to see rules implemented. Real rules.
People follow them, and you really get caught out. And again, that's why this whole social credit thing is there, is because people don't follow the rules.
True.
As I say, this guy turns the wrong way down the road, but
but he has worked.
The thing is, there's definitely like a social etiquette that's in force here.
Right.
Because if you do something wrong, people look at you and like, what are you doing? You know, that kind of thing. But if you do something wrong in China, people ignore you. So you feel you can act with impunity and do whatever you want.
That's why we'll talk about this in another video, but why the crime rate is so underreported in China.
Up here, is
number one, because they're not allowed to report on it. But number two, because people ignore it.
Yeah.
So like they're like, well, I'm not a victim of that, so I don't give a shit, right? Basically that attitude, and that's why they have to take. We always talk about drastic measures in China. They wait until everything is so bad, and then do something crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Like just to ban stuff, and that's what this is another knee-jerk reaction to whatever they think is happening with society right now.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, the thing is, if you do live in China, especially outside of the main big cities, you do see that there's a lot of chaos. You know, people.
It's very chaotic.
People carry on with their own lives, and if there's a law to be broken, and it's because it's just getting in their way, they'll break it, you know.
For sure. You wouldn't believe the videos we see.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny how little the government actually cares about people's behavior in the countryside, though.
Yeah.
They literally couldn't give two shits. So that's why all this heavy-handed stuff's in the cities.
You see these ridiculous things, how they overload vehicles, they drive these weird contraptions that are totally unsafe.
Right.
Workplace safety, and all this kind of stuff's a bad thing. And well, we could go on forever. Turn right here.
Let these people go.
That's okay. We're just going in front of them. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's pretty scary at the end of the day, and so they need to have some kind of a system to try and force people to behave.
Right.
You know? Anyway.
No, my point was just that it doesn't touch the lives of those people in the countryside.
Yeah. So many people have been asking us to cover the social credit system, and it's like at the end of the day, I'm just going to sum it up by saying that yes, it's something that's going to be implemented. It already is.
Right.
I mean, you know, they got like ban lists for travel. Like they ban certain people from traveling because they behave badly as tourists overseas.
Right.
Like, you know, you got that story about the people on the airline and the passengers getting unruly and throwing hot water on the air hostess and stuff. Those people now are on a blacklist and they're not allowed to fly out of China.
Right.
You know, for 10 years or whatever. So it's already happening in those sort of ways. So it's just kind of an extension of that. And you know what? To be honest, it is the only way to deal with the Chinese population as it is right now.
In the current political system.
It is, and I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's literally the only way that people are going to listen, because I mean, just on my way over here to Taiwan, trying to cross the border, and it's right over here, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, it's right here.
You've got, you know, the big thing says stand behind the yellow line, and it says it in massive big characters, right?
Yeah.
And then next to it, it has, is there a motorbike only place? Or no? I guess you can go anywhere. Self-service.
Hello, 我们在哪里家门? They didn't hear me.
Well, I mean, see, there's a bunch of...
These people over here.
You're supposed to put 95 in that scooter, by the way.
92, he said, GR.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, they had a big thing on the wall saying 95, but whatever.
I mean, I can put 95 in it if you want.
I mean, whatever.
Let's do it. Let's put 95 in.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So what I was saying is, you've got the big signs that say stand behind the yellow line.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have like a loudspeaker blaring it out all the time. Stand behind the yellow line. I've still got a full tank.
How do you open this shit? Oh, there we go. I got it.
Nice. So you've got that blaring, you've got it written, but people still just kind of wander in. Like there's a middle-aged woman in front of me, and she just walked right behind the person that was getting their passport stamped. Like, and they had to shoo her back.
Right.
I'm using her as an example. So they shoot her back.
Hello. 95加满. Go ahead.
So they shoot her back. And then when she did finally pass, she stood right behind there to wait for her relatives to come through.
Right.
And it's in that big no waiting area. It says no waiting.
Right.
But she just stood there, and the customs officer actually had to get up, turn around and say, don't stand here, go there. You know, it's just that kind of stuff. That kind of person, they're everywhere in China. Of course, it's the older generation, the younger generation's better, but you've got millions and millions of people that have got no social manners or etiquette.
No, I understand, but
so,
the thing I disagree about is why they're implementing it. Okay. And I don't think it's for public order necessarily, but we'll get into that. Can you pay?
I don't have cash. You have cash?
Oh, you don't have cash, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We didn't go to the ATM. We gotta go to the ATM.
Can I have 34?
What's that?
Can I have some
like
coinies?
Coins?
Let's get rid of that crap. 134.
Yeah.
I don't want it, because otherwise we're just going to need a massive batch.
Yeah, it's really inconvenient to take coins out though. Figure that out. Is that enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so the thing is, I'm saying that when you've got people like that, if you have penalties for bad behavior... then I think that will stop them from, you know, behaving badly, especially if it hits their wallets. And
I understand.
That's what worked in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong, you know, they implement huge fines for things like spitting and littering.
Those are fines. Those are not a breach. Like, it's still a free society, right? Like, people are allowed to say and do what they want. My point is, I think the social credit system and all this stuff is a symptom of a very, very paranoid government. And they're worried about unrest and losing power more so than if people are safe or behaving well.
Yeah, okay. I can agree with you with that.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, anyway, it's it's just one of those situations where I do not agree with it at all.
Right.
I think it's terrible, but at the same time, I can understand that it would be a way to keep order. You know?
Right. I feel you. Anyway, we have a lot of stuff to do today, Winston. We are about to leave this city and head on to somewhere new.
That we are.
Would you like to join me?
Yeah, I just have to get this thing started, remember? It doesn't work very well.
Oh, you're kickstarting.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm right behind you.
Cool.
Okay, well, I mean, that was a pretty horrible topic to talk about, but...
Well, I mean, we have to cover it, right? People are curious.
We did. And again, I just want to reiterate that it's not as bad as it sounds. Like, the way it's being implemented is pretty shoddy. And,
we'll see.
But it's there. I can show you footage of all the things in Metro.
We can't speak for the future of it, but this is what we've seen thus far.
Yeah. Well, man, you know what? This topic does have a lot to talk about. I just have to add one thing.
Yeah, sure.
My wife has friends in the police, you know, in her hometown.
Right.
And when I went to visit her hometown with her last time, we all met up for drinks.
Sure.
And they were telling us about a black foreigner who moved into town.
Yeah.
And they were saying like how they keep a very close eye on him, and they make sure they always know where he is and stuff like that. So, you know, the thing is, as a foreigner, you're being monitored anyway.
This is not a new concern for you.
Red light.
We have minders all the time. These brakes are amazing. We have minders 24/7. Seriously, I'm not even joking. Like 24/7. I don't mean someone's following you 24/7, but you have someone that's responsible for you 24/7.
Yes. Every area has their little police station.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And what happens is they're responsible for all the foreigners living in that area.
Right.
And so what happens is they have to find you, and then they have to report back that you're there, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, like as a foreigner, we already have that. So yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we're going on too long. So let's cut this topic. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
I would like to say that I'm trying to find where we're going, but whether you like to be monitored or not, or you are a well-behaved citizen that doesn't live in China, so you don't have to worry about it, doesn't really matter, because I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you like that we covered this finally, and I hope that you have subscribed if you haven't already, because we'd love to have you on board for the rest of the videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether or not you care about politics or you just kind of ignore them, we love you all the same.
We do.
Until next time, you know the drill, guys. Stay awesome.
When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind